mean, look, we talk all the time, don't we, in sort of ridiculously obvious cliches and truisms, but you dream of a part like this. Hi, Janis.
Hi, Louise. Nice to
lovely
meet you. How do you feel? We're about to be released. I'm really happy because we're coming out. The world gets to see our lovely film that we made
Many years ago. We made a sizzle reel for the BFI to show them how amazing Janis is and show how she's going to use the music. And that was 2020. So it was the end of 2020 because by then I had a small puppy. That's
just
how I
after
date
the
it.
first COVID thing,
Yeah,
wasn't
so
it?
we did that then, but can you talk a bit about its life before we shot that little reel?
Yeah, I think I wrote in 2019 the first draft of Chuck Chuck Baby just after Christmas with a need to put a bit of love into our crazy world. I kind of already had in mind who was going to play the amazing lead, Helen, which was Louise Brealey. I had seen her in other stuff.
I thought you were going to say someone else in that.
Oh,
They
which
weren't
was
available, sadly.
Yes, sadly they turned it down. I wrote in 2019, first draft. We had a bit of development brilliantly with Film Cymru, and then obviously went to the BFI, and then we did the sizzle reel, which sold the world of Chuck Chuck Baby.
But what about the story?
The story 2019.
Because I know it's not autobiographical, but you did leave the town that it's sort of set in. It's sort of set in your home world, isn't it? And I remember us talking really early on about what it was like to be people who had left, and then what it was like to not have left, and how you wanted to sort of honour the people who didn't leave.
Yeah, I wanted to honour the women of those. Towns like the towns we come from, all over the world. It's these amazing women who keep the kind of wheels turning in those towns. Yeah. Their strength, their humour, they're just so amazing. So we always spoke about platforming these women, and that's what I wanted to do as soon as I started writing Chuck Chuck Baby, is to platform female friendship in all its forms. So with that being friends of people who'd gone to primary school together and cemented their friendship in adulthood and gone through all that life with each other. And then also there was a love story involved as well. So, yeah, that was kind of... I think we finished that 2019 developing, and then obviously the sizzle reel. And from there, lots of problems with the COVID issue and everything else, but we managed to shoot 2022. That's it. And now here we are. We're about to be released. I think it's quite incredible. So, obviously we sent you the script, Chuck Chuck Baby, because we were having a table reading. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, will she love it? Will she like it? Will she do it? Because there was no doubt I didn't want anyone else to play Helen but you.
Well, it is a funny one because it came through via my agent as a sort of an invitation to do the read. And I was like, I read it and, got all the usual reactions you get when you read something beautiful. I remember reading the bit about so towards the beginning of the film, my character's driving. She sings a song and she arrives at the factory where her friends are, and the whole film is sort of set in these different spaces, and the factory's a huge one. And there's the scenes quite near the beginning where I'm quite sad and things are a bit shit, and then she arrives at the factory. And I read that and I got goosebumps and went, if this film can deliver on that sort of moment, then this is something extraordinary. And so I got the invitation to the read, and I was like, okay, great, well, I'd love to do the reading of this film. I came in to meet you and the producer, Anne, at a little club in town.
The club.
Hospital club. And I was just very excited to meet you. And then during that time, you said, will you do it? And I was like, yeah, I'm free on that day. Let's do this. And I didn't understand that you meant, will you do the film? And then when you said that, I didn't really know what to do with myself. I know, you know, my first instinct is always to sort of laugh when things are like big. So I think I said something like, is Anna Maxwell Martin not available? But it's like, it's just I mean, look, we talk all the time, don't we, in sort of ridiculously obvious cliches and truisms, but yeah, you dream of a part like this.
I mean, obviously, when the script goes out, when I send you the script, the music goes with it, and everybody is told you must read the script with the music because everything is timed.
Yeah.
Did you find that bit daunting?
Well, when I read it, no, I thought it was awesome, and I couldn't understand why it wasn't happening all the time. When it came to actually doing it, you know, I just had to prepare. Like, I had to learn how to sing it properly, get on the notes and the timing, and then sort of forget I knew that and just feel my way through the songs because that's what you wanted and that's your kind of thing, isn't it? You didn't want a sort of
performance.
Yeah, you didn't want a musical theatre performance of those numbers because the action doesn't stop and someone does a number. The songs in Chuck Chuck are, you know, scenes in themselves, you know, they move the action along, and also they're a reference, aren't they, to how we feel generally about music and how we use music in our lives through heartbreak and to express joy. You know, they're a way of feeling, especially for people who are sort of a bit held. And I mean, and in some regards, certainly at the start of the film, Helen is held, and that's her way of sort of letting the emotion in.
Yeah.
Or out, both.
Yeah.
In and out.
Yeah, and talking about Helen, we both, I mean, I was always asked, you know, this character, Helen, you know, where does she come from? And I always say she's everywhere because I feel women like this are everywhere, including in myself.
Yeah.
Where we get to a point in life, we feel a little bit invisible. We get to a point in life we're stuck. We're in a point in life where nobody is using how brilliant we are. And I think, you know, you must have recognised her in lots of places.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think also we should talk about the mother thing.
Yes.
Because when we shot the film, I still had my mum, and you had lost yours. And on Helen's beautiful blue overalls is your mum's birthday.
That's right, yeah.
And I know that, you know, for our mothers, there weren't really options to get out of those little towns. Not that that's what you have to do, and I think it's really important to say that, but her options were limited, my mum's options were limited, and I just think for me it was so important to go, I want to spend time with those women.
Yeah.
And I don't think we see that. And so among so many reasons why I was desperate to be a part of Chuck Chuck, that was a really important one. And also just to touch on not women in their 20s. Like I really like women in their 20s. Once I was a woman in my 20s.
Yes.
However,
So
it's like,
yes.
were you, Janet?
Just about, yeah.
But I think what's also really worth saying is that I think, you know, you can talk about this much more accurately, but my understanding was that there was a push at a certain point from certain financing elements that they wanted younger women in the leads, and of course when you see the film you'll see that is absolute gibberish because they have to have lived a life, and I don't mean you haven't lived a life in your 20s, but you have to have lived a life like a sort of almost a lifetime out of your childhood for the story to work, because there is an element that comes back from the childhood into the present day, and if it's been 5 years then that's just rubbish. But like underneath all the sort of plot details, the point is that we are obsessed with youngness and we fetishize. I'll just put my teeth back in. We fetishize, oh, for the love of all that is good, we fetishize. Should I just pretend I've said it properly? I've just discovered a speech impediment in the course of this interview. We do that thing to young people, and I think, you know, just sitting watching the film with a couple of the women who had worked in the chicken factories with Janis back in the day. They came, it was Edinburgh. I was looking along the row, and there's a moment toward the end of the film where we see those women, the real women, if you like, in close up. And I was looking at them as they were looking at themselves, and something in me I just thought, well, that's it. That's what it's all about. It's being seen, being, feeling seen.
Very
And I
much
just
so.
found it so profound. I actually had a little cry.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, why do people make films? What is the message in films and everything else? And for me, Chuk Chuk has always been about the women. And, I think a lot of people, when they read Chuk Chuk Baby, and I'm not quite sure if you felt like this, but the amount of women in the film. I mean, I think there's one man, two guys. One man features in the film. Very unusual. Did that unnerve you? And I don't mean a way of kind of being...
I don't think I noticed, which is great and
Yes,
also
that's very
appalling.
good.
But I was just like, because, it's interesting, isn't it? You so seldom notice. Well, I'm kind of tuned to it, but I think often we take for granted that a film is full of men and it's without note. Nobody even thinks to mention it. But we feel we have to somehow go, oh yeah, there's only a couple of guys in this. Yes, it's an interesting one, that, isn't it? Because I know so many men who have seen the film, including my father, who gave me a little squeeze on the arm and went, well done, girl. Who found it really moving and funny, and it's not like men don't like spending time with women.
No, but absolutely.
It's not a woman's film.
Yeah,
it's just a film about love and friendship and being working class and music and
And my brothers who've watched the film have just gone, oh my God, it's just moved them to tears and laughter.
I wanted to ask you, Jenny.
Did you?
About, basically, we had 26 days to make this very ambitious, colourful, singular, funny musical film. It's not your average... It's not a kitchen sink in any regard. A kitchen sink does appear a couple of times, but we spent minimal time in that tiny kitchen, broadly because it could only fit me and Kellen in it at any one time, and the crew couldn't actually fit. But it doesn't feel like that kind of... It's an ambitious film. You're a first-time filmmaker. We've got 26 days. Do you think you rose to the occasion? I do.
I think I went
How
a bit
did it
higher.
feel? Did you surpass yourself?
No, I mean, look, 26 days. I've been making films for quite a few years. And I think, anybody who's out there making their own work, 26 days is not a lot for what we had to do, but we kind of knew that was going to be it. So you prepare yourself for it and you go, we always talk about filmmaking and, the art. And, I do wonder sometimes if a painter had a canvas and they were like, no, you've got to finish that bit. I've got to finish that. It's crazy, and it does bombard you. But it's filmmaking. It's 26 days. I knew was going to be a massive, hard struggle, but amazing crew, amazing cast. Prepare yourself. Create a great and create a great atmosphere and make everybody be inspired to kind of get it all done. I think we all did that. Yeah. But it's a massive piece of work for 26 days.
I know we've touched on the music, but music, like knowing you now and being your pal, music is an everyday thing for you, and that's what you do in your films too. Why
the music? Why? I think music touches us all, doesn't it? And I think we use music therapeutically. We use music when we're grieving. I talk a lot about how, the whole thing of all the work I've made is using music as how we use music, letting it touch our heart. And I think, if you look back in a certain way, it's kind of like my father was a massive John Denver fan. Sorry, but he loved John Denver. And we always played Annie's song. And it was a song that we would, if you don't know it, we'd have a waltz around, have a laugh in the kitchen. I lost my dad last year. It was became his funeral song, and it's a song now that has a totally different effect on me emotionally. And, you know, for me, it's that kind of connection where, and, you know, it touches my heart in a totally different way. And I think, you know, whenever I approach a script and music, and it's what we've talked about before, if I'm not feeling the goosebumps when I'm writing and how the music should work,
they're not going to feel it.
They're not going to feel it.
That's right. I think it is really interesting. I'm sometimes really jealous of when I go and see a musical and you just have that. It's like there's a skin come off for you and you feel things that it's really hard to feel sometimes from a drama or even a comedy. Like I'm sort of, I get envious of how powerful music can be in a dramatic context. And one of the things that I actually think is stand out about the way you write and about the film that you made was just that thing of it not being a sort of show tune. So it's a musical, but not really as you know it. You know, I worked really hard on learning these songs and then very tragically had to suppress, thank you, Janis, my natural, thank you, ability to, you know, do them incredibly beautifully and just sort of feel my way through it. And I think, you know, it was an interesting technical process, actually, and I'd never worked like that before, and it was a proper challenge because one of the numbers is Les Fleurs, which is an absolute arse. I mean, this is Minnie Riperton. She was one of the world's most exquisite vocalists. And then along comes, you know, trying to sort of do it justice. And there was one moment where I'm like, why did you not use auto-tune? Well, that's what it's called. But then, there's one note where I'm like,
you know.
But, you know, it doesn't matter because it's about this, you know, it's about this woman, like letting go of her own sort of fear and how small she's felt and how unseen she's felt and how unlovable she has felt. And so it doesn't matter that I look a bit of an idiot and that like there's a note that isn't right. Like who gives a shit?
It doesn't matter.
From me.
It's here. It's there.
Anyway, you know,
and that's what you do. You give them your heart, and that's what it's all about. That's what music does to us. We give it our heart as we listen to it and take it in. Yeah. And you know, we come to this during the mix of the film. You know, in post production, when we come to mix. You know, I have to have the right sense and the instinct to go in, down, big. Yeah. You know, and you have to because you're feeling something. Yeah. You know, sorry for my movement, but that's what it is. It's hitting you.
I've sat still because it would be too much.
We're moving.
But it just to sort of very quickly, still on the music, that I know we talked before about I Am, I Said, which was a song impossibly that I didn't know. I know it was embarrassing, but I didn't. And I must have sung that song, oh my giddy aunt, hundreds of times when I was prepping it. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And every single time, and thank God, because when we shot the scene, it was tight. We were losing the light, right? So we needed to get it in. We'd had this amazing crane shot stuff earlier on in the day, which had basically taken a lot of time, as these scenes tend to, and these shots can. And so we had very little time for that. And just thank God I'd prepared so intensely. And also, I just went into some sort of like robot mode. I was like, this was the scene that made me fall in love with this film. I'm not going to let, you know, so I had to just go into a mad zone.
And look what you
There were conversations about seatbelts, and I was like, but something about actually the tribute, really, where the credit goes is to Neil Diamond, because like it just makes you feel the thing. And when you really connect to what that song is, which is a sort of cry of rage and sort of sadness and just
loneliness and left behind.
You know, it's all fucked. I haven't lived. And so when you connect to that,
I mean, the pressure, massive pressure, 2 takes. What you give in those 2 takes is something quite extraordinary. And for anybody, even when I come to editing, you know, with Rebecca and I just always sat, and when we saw that, and, you know, we did something that was a risk. Well, I did, I've got to blame it, you know, and it's a one hole. I don't move the camera, it's there. And that's how I wanted it. I wanted to just go there and stay on your heart. And I think you gave us totally your heart. And I think anybody who watches that scene...
all right, the trouble is they're going to watch it now and go, oh, it's all right. Anyway, I'm very proud of it, because we worked hard, didn't we, love?
We did, love.
We did. We tried our bests. And that's all you can ask for
best.
under some taxing circumstances.
Yes.
There was something else.
Go watch it.
And also, please don't write mean things underneath or I'll come and find you. Bye.